You were sold the Florida dream. Sunshine, palm trees, and a house that was supposed to print money. And for a couple of years, it felt like it was working. But that dream is starting to feel more like a fever dream, where the palm trees are on fire and your wallet is screaming for help. Because while everyone is watching home prices, the real monster isn't the mortgage, it's the insurance crisis. We're talking about an entire industry packing its bags and leaving the state. You think a 7% mortgage is scary? Wait until your insurance bill doubles. No, wait, triples. What in the actual hell is happening here? A 30% premium hike is now considered a good deal? It's absurd. This is not a drill. We're taking a road trip through the 10 Florida cities most likely to see the floor fall out in 2025. Like and subscribe because you're going to want to see where this road ends. Number 10. Ocala. Our road trip begins as you drive inland, leaving the coastal chaos behind. You pull into Ocala, the self-proclaimed horse capital of the world. It feels different here. Slower. Rolling hills, sprawling horse farms, and a sea of brand-new master-planned communities designed for retirees seeking their slice of the Florida dream on a budget. But as you look closer, you notice something off. The sheer number of for sale signs planted in front of newly built homes. It feels less like a thriving community and more like a massive open-air showroom that nobody's visiting. This is the quiet, creeping danger of oversupply. During the boom, developers in Marion County went on a building frenzy. According to local MLS reports from mid-2025, the inventory of single-family homes has ballooned. We're talking about a supply level that has more than doubled since the peak buying frenzy. These aren't old, crumbling houses. These are brand new homes, sitting empty, waiting for buyers who are suddenly getting cold feet. The average home here is still hovering in the low to mid 300,000s, but the number of price reductions is ticking up. Redfin's data for the second quarter of 2025 shows that nearly a quarter of all listings in the area have had a price drop. Builders are getting nervous. They're offering incentives, buying down mortgage rates, throwing in free upgrades, anything to move these vacant properties. But the target demographic, retirees on fixed incomes, are the first to hit the brakes when costs get unpredictable. And with property taxes and insurance climbing even here in the middle of the state, that predictable budget is a fantasy. It's a slow-motion collision. The wave of retirees is slowing down, but the wave of new construction hasn't gotten the message. It's a classic case of building for a party that's already ending. For anyone living in or near Ocala, are you seeing more for sale signs than new neighbors moving in? Number 9. Jacksonville. You head northeast, hitting the I-95 corridor and cruising into the largest city by land area in the contiguous United States. Welcome to Jacksonville, a sprawling 900-square-mile beast of a city that feels less like a city and more like an endless collection of suburbs stitched together. You drive through neighborhood after neighborhood of cookie-cutter homes, manicured lawns, and brand-new community centers. During the pandemic, this was the affordable haven people flocked to. Now, those same streets are starting to look like a graveyard of abandoned dreams. The problem here isn't a lack of demand, it's a biblical flood of supply. According to Zillow's market data from the second quarter of 2025, the number of homes for sale in the Jacksonville metro has more than doubled from the peak of the buying frenzy. We're talking about an inventory glut that hasn't been seen in over 5 years. Suddenly, everyone seems to be selling at once. Homes that were getting snatched up in a weekend are now sitting for 60, even 90 days. That's an eternity in a market that was white hot just 18 months ago. And with so much competition, sellers are getting desperate. Data from the Northeast Florida Association of Realtors shows a steady climb in price reductions since the start of the year. It's a slow-motion panic. Your neighbor lists their identical 4-bedroom house for $10,000 less than you were hoping to get. What do? You drop your price. Then the person down the street drops theirs. It becomes a brutal race to the bottom. This isn't the sexy, headline-grabbing crash of a luxury market. This is the quiet, suffocating pressure of a place that simply built too much, too fast. The suburban dream is becoming a trap, and the escape hatches are closing one by one. Is this just a normal market correction, or does it feel like the beginning of something worse for those living in the Jacksonville area? Number 8. Palm Bay. You drive south along the Atlantic into the heart of the Space Coast. This is Palm Bay. It's not a tourist town. There are no high-rise condos or fancy beach clubs. It's a sprawling, working-class city that became an accidental boomtown. During the feeding frenzy, people priced out of everywhere else saw Palm Bay as their last shot at an affordable Florida home. The problem is, a rocket that goes straight up has a nasty habit of coming straight back down. And the descent has already begun. Palm Bay is now consistently showing up on lists of American cities with the most significant year-over-year price drops. According to CoreLogic's analysis of market trends in the first half of 2025, prices here have already softened more than in almost any other major Florida metro. We're not talking about a slowdown, we're talking about a genuine reversal. That $350,000 home you bought in 2023 might now be appraised at $320,000, and that's before you even factor in the selling costs. This is the brutal math of a market correction. The remote workers who could live anywhere are now being called back to the office. The investors who saw a quick profit are cashing out, or trying to, before the floor drops further. This floods the market with inventory. Zillow data confirms that homes in Palm Bay are sitting on the market longer, and the gap between the list price and the final sale price is widening. Sellers are losing their leverage, and the lowball offers are starting to roll in. It's a painful return to reality for a city that was sold a dream of endless growth, only to find out that gravity is a very real thing. Which do you think is a bigger red flag for a housing market? Having too many brand new unsold homes like in Ocala, or seeing existing home prices actively falling, like here in Palm Bay? Number 7. Orlando. You escape the coast and head inland, straight into the belly of the beast. Orlando, home to theme parks, endless tourist traps, and the soul-crushing traffic of Interstate 4. For years, this city wasn't just a place to visit, it was a supposedly foolproof place to invest. Buy a house, throw it on Airbnb, and let the tourist cash roll in. The magic, however, is running out, and fast. The problem is a classic case of a good idea turning into a catastrophic one. The Orlando market became absolutely saturated with short-term rental investors. According to data from AirDNA, which tracks the vacation rental market, the number of active listings exploded post-pandemic. But now, with a potential softening in consumer spending and a glut of identical 4-bedroom homes with pools, the profits are drying up. So, what do all these investors do? They sell, all at once. This isn't a gentle increase in inventory, this is a fire sale. Real estate analytics firms noted a sharp rise in new listings across Orange and Osceola counties throughout the first half of 2025, with a significant percentage previously used as short-term rentals. These aren't emotionally attached homeowners, these are LLCs based in other states, and their only goal is to dump the asset before it bleeds them dry. They will slash prices. They will undercut the local homeowner who just needs to move for a new job. This creates a brutal pricing environment where the floor can fall out with shocking speed. You're no longer just competing with your neighbors, you're competing with a hedge fund's bad bet. That dream of owning a cash-flowing property a few miles from Disney has turned into a nightmare of negative equity for thousands. Is the short-term rental boom a blessing for local economies, or is it a curse that ultimately hollows out communities for actual residents? Number 6. Deltona. You drive north from Orlando, deeper into Central Florida, and arrive in a city that feels like one giant suburb. This is Deltona. There are no theme parks, no beaches, no tourist attractions. For decades, Deltona's entire identity was built on one simple promise: affordability. It was the place you went when you were priced out of everywhere else. A safe, quiet, no-frills community for working families to buy their first home. But that promise is becoming a trap. Deltona is now a poster child for what happens when the bottom rung of the property ladder breaks. According to a mid-2025 market analysis by Redfin, this area is experiencing one of the highest rates of price reductions in the entire state. We're talking about nearly 1/3 of all homes for sale having their prices slashed. Think about that. For every 3 for sale signs you see, one of them represents a seller who aimed too high and is now chasing the market on its way down. This isn't happening in a vacuum. As interest rates and insurance costs remain stubbornly high, the pool of first-time homebuyers who can actually qualify for a mortgage is shrinking. So, inventory sits. And sits. Local real estate reports show that the average days on market have nearly tripled since the peak. The very people Deltona was built for can no longer afford to buy here, even with the price cuts. The total cost of ownership has been pushed into the absurd. It feels like a cruel joke. The sticker price on the house is finally coming down, but the cost to actually live in it continues to spiral out of control. This is how a market grinds to a halt. It's a slow, painful squeeze on the people who can least afford it. If you had a choice, would you rather buy a more affordable home in a market with falling prices or a more expensive one in a market that appears stable? Number 5. Tampa. You cut across the state on I-4, a highway that feels permanently under construction, and roll into a city that was, until very recently, the hottest real estate market in the entire country. This is Tampa. For a few years, it felt like the center of the universe. Tech bros, remote workers, and waves of new residents flocked here, driving prices into the stratosphere. But the party is over, and the hangover is just beginning to set in. The sheer amount of inventory hitting the market is staggering. According to Zillow's mid-2025 data, the number of homes for sale in the Tampa metro area has hit a 5-year high, surging past pre-pandemic levels. Let me repeat that. There are more homes for sale right now than there were before the insane buying frenzy even started. It's a complete reversal. That feeling of scarcity, of panic buying a house before it's gone, has evaporated. Now it's a buyer's market on steroids. You see it everywhere. Price-improved signs are the new lawn ornaments. Homes that would have sparked bidding wars are now sitting for months, collecting dust. Data from the Greater Tampa Realtors Association confirms that sales have slowed significantly, and the average home is taking much longer to sell. But the real gut punch is the cost of living. People who stretched their budgets to buy here are now getting crushed by astronomical insurance premiums. We're talking about homeowners who saw their annual bill jump from $4,000 to $10,000 or more. It's unsustainable. That beautiful $400,000 house feels a lot less beautiful when the insurance bill is $1,000 a month. This isn't just a market cooling off. It's a full-blown affordability crisis colliding with an inventory glut. And we're only at number 5. The cracks are starting to show, but trust me, it gets so much worse from here. If you think this is bad, wait until you see what's happening on the other side of the state. Are you seeing this kind of inventory spike where you live, or is this a uniquely Florida problem? Number 4. Fort Lauderdale. You take Alligator Alley across the state, leaving the Gulf side behind and entering the supercharged, high-gloss world of South Florida. Your next stop is Fort Lauderdale, the Venice of America. And it looks the part. You drive past miles of canals, lined with multi-million-dollar homes, each with a yacht parked out back that's probably worth more than your entire life savings. The sun is shining, the water is sparkling, it feels like you've made it. But the very thing that makes this city beautiful is also the poison that's killing its housing market. The crisis here isn't about inventory or interest rates. It's about insurance, or more accurately, the lack of it. According to reports from the first half of 2025, major insurance carriers have continued to pull out of Broward County, specifically dropping coverage for homes in flood-prone areas. And in Fort Lauderdale, almost everywhere is a flood-prone area. Those that remain are jacking up premiums to levels that can only be described as extortion. We're talking about homeowners getting renewal notices for $40,000 or $50,000 a year. Let that sink in. That's not a mortgage payment, that's just the cost to insure the house. This creates a terrifying domino effect. If a home is deemed uninsurable, a bank will not write a mortgage for it, period. Suddenly, that $2 million waterfront property becomes a cash-only purchase, shrinking the pool of potential buyers by 99%. It's a complete collapse of liquidity. Data from local real estate analysts shows a growing number of sales falling through at the last minute because the buyer was quoted an insane insurance premium and had to walk away. This is the monster under the bed that everyone with a waterfront home in Florida is terrified of. Your home's value is no longer tied to the market. It's tied to a single insurance renewal letter. If your insurance provider tripled your premium overnight with no warning, would you sell your home or would you try to find a way to pay it? Number 3. West Palm Beach. You continue up the coast and the scenery starts to change. The vibe gets quieter, older, and exponentially more expensive. You've arrived in West Palm Beach, the slightly less ostentatious cousin to the island of Palm Beach, where billionaires hedge their funds and shelter their assets. Everything here is immaculate. The streets are clean, the landscaping is perfect, the architecture is flawless. It feels like a fortress of wealth, completely insulated from the grubby problems of the real world. But it's a facade. The same rot that's eating Fort Lauderdale is here, and frankly, it's even more terrifying when it hits the top of the food chain. The problem has evolved from expensive insurance to non-existent insurance. Financial news outlets have been reporting throughout 2025 that several more private insurers have put a moratorium on writing new policies in coastal Palm Beach County zip codes. They're not just raising rates, they are refusing to take on the risk at any price. This is no longer a financial hurdle, it's a brick wall. That $5 million home on the Intercoastal, it might as well be on the moon if you can't get a piece of paper saying it's insured. This is where the entire system breaks down. No insurance means no mortgage, and that means the multi-million-dollar housing market here is rapidly becoming a cash-only business. Even the wealthy don't like to tie up millions in cash if they can leverage the bank's money. It completely guts the buyer pool. We are seeing early signs of this in the local market data. Luxury homes sitting for unprecedented amounts of time. Deals collapsing before closing. Ratings agencies like Fitch have been warning about this specific scenario for months, highlighting that the values of these coastal properties are not sustainable if they are effectively unmortgageable. This is the ultimate emperor has no clothes moment. The asset is only worth what someone can pay for it. What do you think is a bigger sign of a broken market? When first-time buyers get priced out, or when even multimillionaires can't get a loan? Number 2, Miami. You drive down a congested I-95 and the world transforms. Gleaming glass skyscrapers pierce the clouds, neon signs flash in broad daylight, and the streets are a parade of Lamborghinis and Bentleys. This is Miami, the global capital of cool. A city running on crypto, foreign investment, and pure, uncut confidence. From a distance, it looks invincible. But when you get on the ground and look at the actual numbers, you realize this isn't a housing market, it's a fantasy novel. The affordability crisis here isn't just bad, it's mathematically impossible. According to a Housing Affordability Index report from the first quarter of 2025, the median price for a detached single-family home in Miami-Dade County requires a household income of nearly $200,000 to comfortably afford. Now, here's the punchline. The actual median household income in Miami is somewhere around $65,000. This is not a gap, this is a chasm. It is a city where the people who pour the drinks, teach the children, and save lives in the hospitals have zero chance, literally zero, of ever owning a home in the community they serve. This is a market completely detached from its local economy. It's a banking capital for the global elite, a safe deposit box made of stucco and tile. But a market built entirely on outside cash is dangerously brittle. What happens when that foreign investment slows down? What happens when the tech bros who moved here get called back to California? We're already seeing the early signs. Zillow data shows that inventory, even in this high-priced market, is slowly ticking up. Price cuts are becoming more common. The illusion of infinite demand is starting to crack. Add in the ever-present threat of the insurance apocalypse, and you have a beautiful, glittering paradise built on a foundation of quicksand. Is a city still considered successful if the people who make it run can't afford to live there? Number 1. Cape Coral. And here we are, the end of the road. This is the city we've been driving toward this entire time. The place where every single problem we've seen converges into a perfect, terrifying storm. This is ground zero. You drive over the bridge into Cape Coral, and it feels like you've entered a boater's paradise. 400 miles of man-made canals, more than any other city on Earth. Nearly every home seems to be on the water. It's beautiful. It's also the single most financially hazardous place to own a home in Florida, and possibly the entire country. This city is a fragile ecosystem built on a swamp, and it is breaking. First, the investor exodus. During the boom, Cape Coral was a gold rush for speculators. Now, they're running for the exits. According to Redfin's data from mid-2025, new listings have surged as investors are trying to dump their properties before the music stops. Second, the biblical flood risk. Hurricane Ian was not a fluke, it was a preview. Updated climate risk models show that huge portions of the city are extraordinarily vulnerable. But here's the kill shot: the insurance crisis. Insurers aren't just raising rates here, they're fleeing. According to local insurance brokers, getting a new policy for an older home in a high-risk flood zone in Cape Coral is becoming nearly impossible. This is how a market dies. When you can't insure a home, you can't get a mortgage for it. When you can't get a mortgage, the only people who can buy are cash buyers, and they are not paying top dollar for a house that could be underwater in the next storm. This is the scenario where risk analysts warn a 40% price correction becomes plausible for the most vulnerable homes. It's not just a dip, it's a value evaporation. Is the promise of a waterfront lifestyle worth the risk of losing everything you've invested? The Florida dream was never about owning a home. It was about selling it to the next person for more. We just survived a road trip through a state where that dream is turning into a financial nightmare, fueled by an insurance crisis and an ocean of for sale signs. The sticker price on these houses has become a work of fiction. So I have to ask, is this the beginning of the end for the Florida boom, or just another Tuesday in paradise? Let me know what you think in the comments, and subscribe so you don't get left holding the bag.